welcome to our Year 1 welcome meeting. Hopefully this will give you a bit more information about what life is like for your child in Year 1, what you can expect them to come home with, and a little bit more about how we make progress through the year. So, just to start us off, this is the Year 1 team. You can see Mrs McFarlane there down at the far end. She's the seahorse teacher. Myself, the orca teacher. Then we have Miss Stubbs, who is working in orca class as the class TA. Miss Richards, who is working as the seahorse class TA. And then on the end we have Miss Ratcliffe, who is our skit student and will be working with both classes throughout the year, but is primarily based in orca class. So if you see any of us, just feel free to say hello. Okay. So this is what a Year 1 day will look like at the start of the year. So you can see they've all done an amazing job with the drop-offs. Obviously it's very different with our one-way system, but thank you very much for everybody who is following the guidelines. So drop-off window, we start off with gross or fine motor skill jobs. So that might be big movements using rolling, stacking blocks, or it might be practicing our small movements like cutting or pushing bricks together. Then as soon as the children are ready in, settled and have chosen their lunches, we move into phonics, which lasts about half an hour, and we'll come on to phonics a little bit later. Then the children have their continuous provision. You may hear them talking about that as choosing time. So it's where the children can go and choose a selection of activities, some that we've laid out and some that they might decide to make themselves. And we use that to make sure that we're pushing on their learning through questioning and building on challenges, thinking about teamwork and that kind of thing. We do have a break time in Year 1, but it's not out on the front playground, so we use it as part of a calm time. We have snack and we share stories. So at the moment that's traditional tales and nursery rhymes that the children should be familiar with, and we'll be moving on to more complex texts as the year goes on. After break time, we have some group work with the class teacher and class TA, where the children sit at their desks and they have a directed activity. So that's either English or maths, and it will range from a mix of activities including building words, experimenting with letter writing, seeing if they can do some writing on their own, to things like making a number line. And that will last about half an hour up till about 11:15. And then they have some more choosing time and then up to lunchtime. As part of our morning activities, the teachers and TAs will also be reading with your children, so your child will get read with once a week, but we'll come on to that again later on. After lunch, the children have handwriting, some more choosing time, and also assemblies. So we have assemblies via Zoom, and the children have coped really, really well with that.
Okay, we have PE now. It's really important that when they do have PE, can you please ensure that their earrings on PE days are removed, because obviously we can't take their earrings out and they are a bit small to be doing it themselves. So if you can ensure that their earrings are removed on PE days, for those of you who can't remove them, you can put tape on, but we would prefer if the earrings are removed. Yes, the children will do PE twice a week, and that will be on a Monday and Wednesday throughout this half term, and we'll be swimming in the spring term, but details will follow closer to the time. So don't worry about swimming costumes and all the rest of it. We will let you know nearer the time.
We have had a couple of questions about Ben from AAA Coaching. He does work with the children across the school. At the moment he's working with Year 2, so our turn will come. So advise your children to be patient, they will get time to play with Ben.
And also please ensure their PE kits are in school. Yes, very important now.
We do send them home every half term as well. Right, phonics. So at the end of Year R, obviously some of our children were able to return for the summer term, some children weren't. They had been taught phase 2 and 3 phonics, so that's all the letters of the alphabet and then some sounds combined, like A, I, O for example. We'll be revisiting that to make sure that all the children are secure. We have done phonics assessments already, so the learning that the children need, it will be tailored to them so that we can make sure that they're able to progress. So we'll be starting with phase 3 phonics, and we'll be moving into phase 4, which is combining longer letters and combinations of sounds together, ready for them to do the phonics check in the summer. So the phonics check is a very simple quiz that they do with their class teachers, just looking at seeing if they can sound out a word, for example train, t, r, a, n, and if they can stick it back together, train. Okay, we do a lot of practice with that with the children, so if you could make sure that they are sounding out when they're reading at home, that would be greatly appreciated. But if you do have any concerns, please just speak to one of us.
Also, you may see your children coming home doing this. This is what we do when we segment a blend in class. So, as Mrs. Tyers just said, t, r, a, n. So it's their digrass and trigrass, but we sound it out on their arm and then they stick it together.
So start sticking their arm out, don't worry. Right, okie dokie. Reading. We're continuing to work with the children on their reading bands. So obviously, given COVID, we have started reading with the children individually rather than in groups. So we've assessed your child individually and we'll be sending home a guided reading book tailored to them once a week. As they progress through their phonics, we will continue assessing as we normally do, part of our practice, and then moving them up the book bands. But the book bands are related to both their ability to sound out and decode the words and their understanding of the text. Okay, so we'll know if they're ready to move on. But again, if you have any concerns, come and speak to us. Okay. So as I mentioned already, they'll be reading to an adult once a week individually. We will be moving on to twice a week in groups as the year moves on. And they'll be sent a new book home once a week, so those are going home this week.
They do have a reading record as well, so when we do read with them, you will know because we will write in their reading record
So
to let
please
you
make
know.
sure that those are in their book bags daily. Okay. So, comprehension. So I mentioned briefly that reading isn't just about being able to sound out the words and stick them back together. It is about all of these different events. So being able to understand what different words mean, and that is from the very, very basic words. So tin, nest, things that children might have encountered, have heard, but not necessarily discussed before, down to longer words like soaking, okay, is one I had today. So what the meaning of that word is and can they understand it in context. How they use the pictures to help them decode words, so can they think about the context and then apply that. Inference, so saying how a character might be feeling even though it's not stated, so if somebody's knee got bashed, being able to say the character felt upset because their knee was hurt. Predicting what might happen next, and that's not just looking at a text and saying, oh, I think this story might be about a dog because there's a front cover of a dog. It's thinking about, actually, I've read the first 3 pages, this is what I think is going to happen next. Okay? Being able to retell with specific details, linking to their own experiences, so saying things like I've seen a nest before, or I've fallen in a river and got soaking wet, that kind of thing, and being able to recall information and facts from fact books. So there is quite a bit in reading, but again, if you have any worries, please speak to one of us.
Right, maths. When children leave year R, they come up to us being secure and fluent in numbers 1 to 20. We push that on in year 1 up to 100. So we are still practicing 1 to 20, but we are now counting higher numbers. So you will see that we actually use concrete, pictorial and abstract. So we use lots and lots of practical equipment when we are doing maths with the children. We then move it on to pictures, and finally, as the year progresses, they will be doing abstract. So that's writing the actual calculation. When you're at home with your children, any opportunity you can you please count with them forwards, backwards, when you're putting out plates for dinner, when you're going upstairs to bed. Lots and lots of practice, lots of repetition. We're thinking about number bonds as well, so number bonds to 20, so 14 and 6 make 20, 13 and 7 make 20, all those different ways that you can make those different numbers, and that forms the foundation for when they move further up into the school.
You may see some of these resources around school, so we have number lines that the children can use to help them count on. Again, that's a practical resource. So we've got coins, again, practical concrete resources, and Numicon, and that has the holes that indicate how many that piece of Numicon, how much the value is.
And I would say Numicon is a fantastic resource, so if anybody asks what your child wants for Christmas, please put this on their list.
Right, okay. English, again, we use things to help in our English, so the children are using their phonics and applying it in their writing, but they're not just doing that out of thin air. So we have alphabet lines you can see up there. We also have sound maps, and that is where there is a particular sound the children are familiar with. They can't really remember how to write it, and this gives them a clue. So for example, a picture of the Queen for qua, okay, and they use that to help. But we also have things to help with handwriting, so we have letter lines and also finger spaces to help them remember to use those. Okay, right, so learning letter. Each Friday we'll be sending out a learning letter that will have an English activity and a maths activity on there, and a plea to read every day and record it in your yellow book, which totals towards their badges, which the children absolutely love getting. It will be available on the school website and Facebook and emailed out, but if you are having any difficulties accessing it, please speak to the school office.
Okay, general housekeeping. So Really important that you label your children's clothes, particularly their jumpers, because at the end of the day we've got jumper boxes, we've got pegs. Children at this age are grabbing a jumper. If their name's not in it and it just looks like their jumper, they don't always check. And also, parents, we need you to make sure that you write their name in it so that we can see it and it's legible. Really, really important.
If you have got a second-hand jumper, we tend to know most children that have been through the school,
Yeah.
so we will pick it up and say, oh, that child's in year 4 now.
Yeah.
Just write it in a different area in the jumper. So if, for example, you have a previous label in the neck, write it on the tag that's down here. We'll always double check, but it just makes it a little bit easier for the children, and rather than us going, who knows this child?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And we've got
second-hand,
Sharpie pens in school. I'm very often, when it starts to fade, just going over it again with my Sharpie
just let us
pen.
know, we don't mind.
Water bottles are really important as well. It's really important that children drink regularly. I try, as Mrs Tighe does, try and make our children empty their water bottles at least once a day. But it's really important they have a water bottle in school. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. It can just be a bottle of water, and once the water's gone, just write their name on that bottle and then keep sending it in. But it's really important that they have water because they need it for their brain to grow. Really important. Welly boots and a coat as the weather starts to worsen, and if you've been looking at the weather forecast, it is going to get quite cold. Eventually it will be wet. We play out in all weathers. We go outside and do our learning in all weathers. So it's really important that they have a coat and welly boots so they can go and explore outside as well as inside as well. And if at home time the arrangements are different, to use your arrangements, please tell a member of staff. Please don't panic either. I've had a couple of parents that have really panicked because they thought they were late and they get themselves in a bit of a tizzy. We will hold on to your children if you are late, if you're caught in traffic, if you just ring the school and let us know. But it's important that you're here by the closing time because the gates will lock and you will have to collect your child from the office. Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
But yeah, just let us know if there is any different childcare arrangements, just to make it a little bit easier, and then we can let the children know as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just thank you for your patience at home times. Obviously, the one-way system has been changed so that we have overflow lanes, and it seems to be working really smoothly. And thank you very much to those parents who are shouting the name of their child while we get to know you over the course of the year. So I know there's a lot of angst around moving into year 1. Please don't panic. It doesn't suddenly get way harder hearing all of these different things. We still do our C and E pathways. Those are called the consolidation and enrichment. So whatever learning we do with your child, this week we have been doing using the sounds that we know. If they need a little bit of help, they'll get an activity that is tailored to that on the consolidation pathway. If they're able to access it already, they will get a challenge on the enrichment pathway. So please don't worry, it is all completely individual to your child. It doesn't just suddenly get harder because they have moved up into year 1. Okay, and please just come and speak to us if you have any concerns. Okay,
Thank you very much and
see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.